The ocean was calm when the research vessel Horizon moved across the surface of the Pacific. Commander Alex Harper stood on the deck, watching the wide blue world around him. He liked the quiet moments at sea, but he knew this calm was only on the surface. Something deep under the ocean had sent out strange signals, and no one knew what they were. Alex was a steady man with sharp eyes and a calm voice. He had led many missions before, but this one felt different. The reports said the seafloor had moved in a way that did not match any natural pattern. The scientists were excited. The military was worried. Alex was somewhere in between. Claire Morgan, a marine biologist, stepped up beside him. She was carrying a small tablet with new readings. Claire was patient and curious, and she had always loved the ocean, but even she felt uneasy about this mission. "The sensors picked up another pulse from the trench," she said. "It is not natural, I am sure of it." Alex nodded. "Jacob will want to see that. He is running the models now." Jacob Rivers, the geophysicist on board, was always busy. He loved patterns and puzzles. The strange movements under the Pacific had caught his full attention. He had barely slept since the Horizon left port. Alex and Claire walked inside the ship and went to the main lab. Jacob was standing in front of a large screen with shifting lines and graphs. "You should see this," Jacob said, not even turning around. "This is no earthquake. Something moved down there, something big." Alex folded his arms. "And you think it is artificial?" Jacob took a deep breath before answering. "If this data is correct, then yes, this is not a natural formation." The sea floor shifted like a door opening. Claire's eyes widened. "A door under the ocean, that does not make sense." "Nothing about this makes sense," Jacob said. He pointed at the screen. "But this line right here means something opened, something huge. And something ancient." Alex did not like mysteries, but he was trained to face them. "Prepare the submersible. We go down within the hour." The crew moved quickly. The submersible, named Deepview, was lowered into the water. Alex, Claire, and Jacob entered the small vessel and strapped into their seats. The descent began, and the light around them faded as they sank deeper and deeper. The ocean at that depth was dark and cold. The only light was the beam coming from the front of the submersible. Claire watched the shadows outside. She knew there were creatures here that humans rarely saw. "How far down are we?" she asked. Jacob checked the display. "Almost to the trench shelf, another few hundred meters." Suddenly the beam of light hit something massive. Alex leaned forward. "What is that?" The structure in front of them was enormous. It stretched out across the sea floor like a mountain, but its shape was too smooth and too precise. Long lines ran across its surface, glowing faintly with a pale blue color. "This is built," Jacob whispered. "This is not rock, this is metal or something like metal." Claire could not speak for a moment. The sight was too strange, too impossible. The object seemed older than anything she had ever studied, yet it looked advanced beyond anything humans had built. Alex moved the submersible closer. The glowing lines grew brighter as they approached. They shifted and pulsed like living veins. "Are those symbols?" Claire asked, pressing her face closer to the glass. The lines on the surface formed repeating patterns, almost like writing, but not alien writing, not completely. Claire recognized something familiar in the shapes. "Some of these marks look human," she said softly. "Very old human, like the markings found in ancient caves. But how could that be? No humans lived anywhere near the ocean floor." Jacob shook his head. "Not any humans we know of." Alex guided the submersible around the structure. It was too large to see the full shape, but it appeared to be wrapped around the sea floor like a massive ring. "We need to get inside," Jacob said. "We do not even know if there is an entrance," Alex replied. But as he spoke, the glowing lines brightened suddenly. A deep vibration shook the water around them. Claire gripped her seat. "What is happening?" she asked. A large section of the structure began to move. Slowly, very slowly, a huge opening appeared in the metal surface. Sediment rose in clouds as ancient dust and sand drifted away. "It is opening," Jacob breathed. "It is opening for us." Alex kept his voice steady, even though he felt a chill run through him. "We are going inside." The submersible entered the dark opening. For a moment all light vanished. Then the walls inside began to glow softly with the same pale blue color. They were in a long tunnel, smooth and perfectly shaped. The walls seemed to shift slightly, as if they were alive. "This technology," Jacob said, "is millions of years ahead of anything we have. but some of the markings outside were human. How can both things be true? Claire shook her head slowly. Maybe humans had a history before the history we know, something that was lost, something buried. The tunnel ended in a large chamber. The chamber was filled with towering structures like pillars or machines. Each one was covered in symbols. Claire stepped out of the submersible once they checked the air was safe. She moved to the closest pillar and touched the surface gently. "This feels warm," she said, "like it is alive." Jacob was scanning the room when his device began to beep loudly. "Something is charging, something is waking up." A deep hum filled the entire chamber. The floor shook as waves of energy moved outward. Alex raised his head. Everyone back to the submersible now. But it was too late. A blast of light shot upward from the center of the chamber. The light went through the ceiling and straight into the ocean above. It kept rising higher and higher until it reached the sky. Claire shielded her eyes. "What did we activate?" Jacob stared upward with fear. "Not a machine, a signal." Alex's face tightened. "A signal to who?" Jacob looked back at him. "Not who, what? This place is not a ruin, it is a warning system, and we just turned it on." Far above the Earth, beyond the reach of human eyes or human technology, the pulse spread into deep space. It moved past stars, planets, and nebulae at incredible speed. In the far distance, in a place no human knew about, a fleet of alien ships detected the pulse. The light from the signal reflected off their metallic hulls. The captains of the fleet watched their screens in silence. They knew this signal. They had feared it for generations. "It has awakened," one of the alien leaders said. "Earth has stirred its old guardians," another replied. "We must move now," the commander said, "before humanity learns the truth of what it once was." The alien fleet changed course. Their engines roared to life. They were heading for Earth. Back in the chamber under the Pacific, the glow began to fade. Claire turned to Alex, her voice shaking. "If this place is so old," she said, "then why does it react to us? Why us?" Jacob looked at the walls, at the symbols, at the smooth metal with human patterns. "Because humans built this, or humans became something else long ago, something powerful. Something the galaxy remembers." Alex stepped forward and placed his hand on the glowing surface. It pulsed once under his palm. "We need to get back to the horizon," he said. "We need to warn the world." They moved quickly back to the submersible. As Alex sealed the hatch, the entire chamber began to hum again. "The structure is fully awake now," Jacob said. "We may have started something we do not understand." "Then we learn," Alex replied. "We have no other choice." The submersible pulled away from the glowing chamber. Behind them, the door slowly closed again, sealing the ancient system inside. As they rose toward the surface, Claire looked through the window one last time. The faint glow from the structure made the ocean floor look like a sleeping giant, but it was no longer sleeping. Above them, the ocean grew brighter as they climbed. Alex guided the submersible upward, but all three of them felt the same thing in their hearts. The world had changed. Whatever the ancient signal had reached out to, it was coming, and Earth was not ready. The horizon returned to the surface only minutes after the ancient signal was sent into space, but for Alex, Claire, and Jacob, it felt as if days had passed. Their minds were still full of the glowing chamber beneath the Pacific and the strange symbols that seemed both human and alien at the same time. They climbed out of the submersible with heavy steps, each one trying to understand what they had awakened. Alex walked straight to the command room. He did not wait to rest or change clothes. His uniform was still wet from the dive and his boots left marks on the floor. But he did not care. The world outside was the same blue ocean, but he knew the truth now. Everything had changed. Claire and Jacob followed him closely. Neither of them spoke as they moved down the hallway. Their minds were busy with questions they could not yet answer. When Alex entered the command room, the crew looked up at him, waiting for orders. He felt the weight of their trust and responsibility. He stood at the center of the room and spoke in a calm but urgent voice. "We found something alive under the ocean, something ancient, something not natural, and it sent out a signal. We do not know who or what received it, but we need to report this to every major agency at once." The crew stared at him. They had known the mission was important, but they had not expected this. Claire stepped forward and placed a data tablet on the main table. "We have recordings of the structure, the tunnel, and the chamber. The glowing patterns looked like some kind of language or code. Some of it might be human, very old human, Jacob added. The signal it released was powerful. It went past our satellites in seconds. Anything in space would have seen it. We need to assume it reached someone. The communications officer nodded nervously and began sending the data to world agencies. But even as he did, the air in the command room felt tense, as if something unseen was already moving toward them. Alex noticed the fear in the room. He spoke again, more softly. We do not know what is coming, but we will face it. Humanity always has. For now, we gather information. We stay alert. We prepare. Claire looked at him and saw the strain behind his steady expression. She touched his arm gently and said, "We will get through this. We always do." Alex gave her a small nod, grateful for her words, but he could not shake the feeling growing inside him. Something old had awakened in the deep. Something that changed everything. Later that night, after the reports were sent and the crew settled into their stations, Claire sat alone in the lab. She replayed the recordings from the chamber again and again. The symbols on the pillars seemed familiar, but she could not explain why. She paused the screen on a pattern of looping shapes. They looked like early human writing, but older than any writing she had ever studied. As she focused on the symbols, she felt something strange in her mind, like a faint whisper. She frowned and leaned closer to the screen. For a moment, the symbols seemed to shift. They almost looked like they were moving. Jacob entered the lab quietly and saw her staring at the screen. "Are you still trying to read them?" Claire nodded slowly. "It is strange. I feel like I should understand them, but I do not. Not yet." Jacob rubbed his eyes. "There is a theory about this. Some scientists believe that humans had advanced cultures long before the ones we know about, but there was never proof, until now. Maybe these marks show that ancient humans built technology far beyond what we have today." Claire turned to look at him. "But how could they disappear? Why would all this knowledge be lost?" Jacob crossed his arms and stared at the symbols. "Maybe it was never lost. Maybe it was sealed away, hidden, protected." Claire felt a chill run through her. Protected from what? Jacob did not answer. He did not know. Meanwhile, high above Earth, space was no longer empty. At the edge of the solar system, dark shapes began to appear from the vacuum. The alien fleet that had detected the signal moved forward with caution and fear. Their ships were sharp and quiet, like shadows sliding across the stars. The alien commanders spoke in low, tense voices as they studied the pulse they had captured. "This is the ancient code," one of them said. "We hope never to see it again." Another replied, "We must act before humanity learns what it once possessed. If the Guardians wake fully, we will not survive." The fleet moved closer to Earth. Back on the horizon, Alex stood on the deck in the early morning. The sun was rising, turning the sky orange and gold, but he could not enjoy the beauty of the sea. He kept thinking about the chamber and the pillars and the strange glow. He heard footsteps behind him. It was Claire. She stood beside him and looked at the water. "You look tired," she said. "I am," Alex replied honestly. "Everything feels too big now, too difficult to understand." "We will understand it," Claire said softly. "That is why we are here, to learn, to protect people." Alex gave her a small smile. "You always find the bright side, even when the world is shaking." Claire looked out at the waves. "I just believe that we can face anything if we stay together." Before Alex could answer, a sharp alarm sounded from the command room. Both of them rushed inside. The radar operator pointed at the screen. "There is movement in orbit. Something entered our satellite range, and it is not human." Alex's eyes widened. "How big is it?" "Several objects," the operator replied. "Maybe ships. Their signatures do not match anything we know." Jacob arrived from the hallway, still half awake. "What is happening?" Claire looked at the radar screen, her voice trembling. The signal reached someone. More alarms began to sound as the objects moved closer to Earth. Their shapes became clearer. They were ships, alien ships, moving in a tight formation. Alex called the bridge crew to full alert. "We need to get a clear view. Bring up all satellite feeds." Images appeared on the main screen. They were blurry at first, then sharpened. The alien ships looked nothing like human vessels. Their surfaces were dark and smooth, with glowing lines running across them like veins. Their engines burned with blue fire that changed shape as they moved. Jacob stepped back in shock. "They came so fast. They must have been watching the signal, waiting for it," Claire whispered. "They feared it. That means they know what the chamber was. They know the truth about ancient humans." Alex regained control of his thoughts and spoke firmly. We need to send this to world agencies right now and tell them to prepare for conflict. We do not know their intentions, but they are approaching with speed. As the data was sent out, the alien ships continued their path. They positioned themselves around Earth, not attacking but watching. But the silence felt worse than an attack. Hours passed. Governments around the world began to respond. Some were preparing defenses. Others were trying to make contact. But no message from Earth received a reply. Claire sat beside Jacob in the lab, reviewing new readings from the ocean floor. The structure is still active, she said. It is sending energy pulses through the Earth's crust. Jacob adjusted a graph. It might be preparing something or waking something. We do not know what its purpose is. Suddenly the ship shook violently. Claire grabbed the table to steady herself. What was that? She shouted. Alex's voice came through the speakers. Everyone to stations. One of the alien ships fired a probe. It hit the water near the trench. They are scanning the structure. Claire felt panic rise in her chest. If they try to break into it, they could activate more systems. They could damage it. Jacob ran toward the bridge. Claire followed him. When they arrived, the crew was already watching the scene on a live feed from underwater cameras. The alien probe glowed as it moved toward the ancient structure. The structure responded. A ring of light spread across its surface, brighter than before. The water around it began to swirl. Claire gasped. It is defending itself. The probe tried to move back, but it was too late. A beam of blue light shot from the structure and destroyed the probe instantly. The alien fleet reacted. One of their ships moved into attack position. Jacob whispered in fear, "They think we control the structure. They think we activated it on purpose. They think we are dangerous." Alex understood now. They are not here to talk. They are here to stop us. Or stop whatever they fear inside that structure. Before anyone could speak again, the alien ship fired a blast toward the ocean. The water exploded in a massive wave. Claire grabbed Alex's arm. "If they damage the structure, what happens then?" Jacob answered with dread. "I do not know, but I think the structure is waking more systems now. It might be preparing something bigger." Back under the ocean, deep in the ancient chamber, soft blue lights began to glow along the walls. The symbols lit up one by one, then pulsed gently. A low hum filled the chamber. Something was coming to life. And above the ocean, the horizon shook again as another alien blast struck the water. Alex stared at the rising steam and the boiling sea. "This is only the beginning," he said quietly. The ancient guardians of Earth were waking, and the aliens were ready to destroy the planet before they let humanity learn the truth of its past. The sea shook again as the alien blast struck the water and the horizon rocked from side to side. Alex grabbed the railing to steady himself while alarms echoed through the ship. The crew rushed to their stations, their faces pale with fear. No one had expected the aliens to fire so soon, and no one knew how far they were willing to go. Claire held onto a table to keep her balance as another vibration passed through the vessel. The lights flickered. She turned to Jacob, who was staring at a monitor that displayed readings from the ocean floor. "The structure is responding again," Jacob said. His voice was tense, but his hands moved quickly across the controls. "Energy output is rising fast, much faster than before." Claire looked over his shoulder. The lines on the screen were sharp and uneven. "It looks unstable. Could it break?" Jacob shook his head. "No, this is different. It is like it is preparing something. A reaction, a defense." Alex entered the lab with quick steps. "We need answers, right now. If that structure reacts in ways we do not understand, we could lose control of the situation." Jacob pointed at the screen. "The aliens think we activated the structure on purpose. They believe we are trying to bring something dangerous back. That is why they fired, but the structure is not attacking them directly. It is waking up more systems. Something inside is coming online." Claire felt a cold chill run down her spine. "You think something is inside? Something alive?" Jacob did not answer immediately. His eyes locked onto the data streaming in. "Maybe not alive in the way we think. Maybe something built, something made for protection." The symbols on the walls looked like instructions, like they were waiting for a trigger, and we were that trigger. Alex placed his hands on the table and leaned forward. "Then we need to go back down. We need to see what is happening." Claire stared at him in disbelief. "Go down now." "With the aliens firing at the ocean, that is too dangerous." Alex looked at her, his expression steady. If we do not understand what is waking up, then we are blind, and we cannot protect Earth if we are blind. We go down, the three of us. Jacob exhaled slowly. I knew you would say that. Minutes later, the three of them were back inside the submersible Deep View. The ocean was rough, and waves crashed hard against the vessel as it lowered into the water. But once they descended below the surface, everything became quiet and dark again. Claire watched the murky water around them as they sank deeper. Do you think the aliens will fire again? Alex kept his eyes on the controls. They might, but they seem more focused on the structure than on us. Their goal is to stop whatever they fear inside that place. Jacob added, which means they may fire directly at the trench. If they hit the structure hard enough, who knows what will happen. We need to reach the chamber before they do too much damage. As they descended, the faint glow of the ancient structure appeared below them, but this time it was brighter than before, much brighter. The glowing lines pulsed like a heartbeat, sending waves of blue light through the water. It is fully active now, Claire whispered. It was only waking before. Now it is alive. When they reached the opening, Alex guided the submersible inside. The door, which had closed before, opened on its own again. Light washed over them as they entered the long tunnel. Everything inside was brighter. The walls seemed to ripple softly like breathing skin made of metal. The symbols along the walls glowed in patterns, moving from one end to the other. Claire placed her palm on the glass, watching the moving shapes. They are not random, they are messages or instructions. Jacob nodded. Look, they are repeating the same pattern over and over. They are trying to communicate. The submersible reached the main chamber. The pillars they had seen before were no longer quiet. They shone with strong blue and white light. Lines spread across their surfaces like rivers of energy. The hum in the air was louder now, almost like a low song. Alex felt a deep vibration in his chest. Something is different. Something changed since we left. Then the floor trembled. Claire gasped as a large section in the center of the chamber began to open. The platform split apart, forming a wide circular gap. Light rose from the opening, swirling upward in steady waves. Jacob stared with awe. It is unlocking another level. Something is rising. A tall shape slowly began to appear from below. At first it looked like a shadow, then it took form. A massive figure made of smooth alloy, shaped like a human but not exactly human. Its body was long and strong, with glowing lines running down its arms and chest. Its head was shaped like a helmet without a face, but the glowing eyes gave it a strange presence. Claire stepped forward involuntarily. Is that a guardian? Jacob swallowed hard. It must be a guardian from ancient humans, a protector, a machine built to defend Earth. Alex whispered. We woke it. He felt both fear and wonder at the sight. The guardian stood completely still for a long moment, then its eyes glowed brighter. It turned its head slowly toward Claire. She froze as a soft wave of energy moved toward her. It passed through her gently like warm air. Jacob checked his scanner. Scanning us, it is reading us. Claire gasped softly as images flashed in her mind. She saw ancient humans walking beside guardians like this one. She saw tall cities made of shining stone and metal powered by blue energy. She saw people guiding the guardians with their minds. Then she saw war stars burning, ships breaking apart, and worlds falling. The vision faded and she stumbled. Alex caught her. Claire, what happened? She breathed heavily. It showed me memories of humans in the past. They were powerful. They built these machines. They fought something in the stars, something terrible. Jacob looked stunned. You connected with it. It must have recognized you. Maybe your genetics, maybe something else. The guardian stepped forward. The entire chamber shook as it moved. It raised one arm toward the ceiling. A beam of light shot upward through the water and into the sky. Alex looked up. What is it doing now? Jacob answered, his voice tense. Signaling the others. There might be more guardians hidden around the planet. It is calling them. Before they could react, the submersible's radio crackled. Commander Harper, this is the horizon. You need to return. The alien ships are moving. They are preparing to fire again. Alex's face hardened. We are coming up. Claire looked at the Guardian one last time. Can you protect us? She whispered. The Guardian turned its head toward her. For a moment, the lights in its eyes flickered gently, almost like a nod. Alex guided the submersible back through the tunnel and out of the structure. As they rose toward the surface, the water glowed behind them. More lights appeared deeper in the structure, shapes moving, systems waking. More Guardians are waking, Jacob said. This is bigger than we thought, much bigger. When they reached the surface, the horizon pulled them aboard quickly. The sky above was filled with distant lights, alien ships readying weapons. The moment Alex stepped onto the deck, the ship shook violently. A bright beam shot down from orbit and slammed into the ocean. "They are trying to destroy the structure," Claire shouted, but then something unexpected happened. A tall shape rose from the water. It was the Guardian. Its entire body glowed with blue energy. It stood taller than any human building on the coast. Water poured off its metallic frame as it emerged completely. The alien ships turned their weapons toward it. Alex watched in awe and fear. "This is it. This is the first strike." Blue light formed around the Guardian's hands. It raised its arms toward the sky. The alien ships fired. The Guardian released its own blast, a wide shield of energy that spread like a dome over the ocean. The two forces collided, creating a huge flash of light. The ocean shook, winds roared, the horizon rocked violently. Claire grabbed the railing. "It is protecting us. It is protecting Earth." Jacob stared at the scene, unable to speak. Above them, more alien ships began moving. They were forming an attack pattern. Alex clenched his jaw. This is only the beginning. The aliens will not stop. They fear the Guardians too much. The Guardian looked up at the sky, its eyes glowing brighter than ever. It took a step forward on the surface of the water. The battle for Earth had begun. The Guardian stood on the surface of the ocean like a giant made of shining light and metal. Its body glowed brighter with every passing second, and the energy surrounding it grew stronger as more alien ships gathered in the sky. Alex, Claire, and Jacob watched from the deck of the horizon, unable to look away. Everything around them felt unreal, as if the world had changed into something new and unknown. The alien ships began to move in tight formations. Their engines glowed with deep blue fire, and their weapons charged with sharp white light. Alex could feel the tension building in the air. First battle had only been a warning. Now the aliens were preparing a much larger strike. "They are forming a full attack line," Jacob said, gripping the railing. "They do not want to just stop the Guardian. They want to destroy the entire structure under the ocean." Claire looked up, her eyes full of fear. "If they destroy it, what will happen to Earth? What will happen to us?" Jacob shook his head slowly. "The structure seems connected to Earth's energy. If they hit it too hard, it might cause a chain reaction. It might damage the planet itself." Alex raised his voice so the entire crew could hear him. "Everyone stay ready. Hold positions. We are not going anywhere until we understand what is coming." A bright flash appeared in the sky. The alien fleet released another blast of energy. The beam shot downward at incredible speed, aimed straight at the Guardian. The Guardian lifted its arms again. A blue shield formed, wider and brighter than before. When the alien beam struck the shield, a wave of shock rolled across the sea. The horizon shook violently. Several crew members fell to the floor, though no one was injured. Claire covered her ears as the sound trembled through the air. "How long can the Guardian block attacks like that?" Jacob looked at the readings on his tablet. "It is pulling power from the structure under the ocean. As long as the structure has energy, the Guardian can keep fighting. But this battle is draining enormous amounts of power." The Guardian lowered its arms and looked up at the sky. Its eyes glowed more brightly than ever before. Then it raised one hand toward the ocean. The water around the Guardian began to swirl. Waves circled around its legs, rising higher and higher. Claire gasped as the sea lifted like a giant spiral. "What is it doing?" she whispered. Jacob stared in awe. "It is drawing energy from the ocean itself. The structure must be letting it use the Earth's natural systems. This is far beyond anything we have seen." The Guardian then raised both of its arms. A massive beam of blue energy shot upward into the sky. The beam struck one of the alien ships directly. The ship shook violently, glowing white, and then exploded in a bright flash. The blast lit up the entire sky. The alien fleet reacted immediately. More ships moved into attack positions. The largest ship in the fleet, a massive vessel shaped like a dark spear, began to descend from orbit. Its weapons glowed with a harsh red light. Alex narrowed his eyes. "That must be their command ship, the one leading this attack. If they fire that main weapon, the structure will not survive." Claire felt a lump in her throat. The Guardian cannot take all of this alone. There must be something more coming, something the structure is preparing. Jacob pointed toward the water. Look! Deep below the Guardian, the ocean began to glow. Not just a little light, an entire field of bright blue spreading across the surface. The glow widened until it reached the horizon and stretched far beyond. Then something began to rise, another shape, then another, then a third. Claire covered her mouth with both hands. More Guardians, there are more Guardians. 3 massive figures emerged from the ocean. Each one was different from the first. One had long arms shaped like blades. Another was broader with heavy armor across its chest. The third had wings folded along its back. As they stepped onto the surface of the water, the sea rippled beneath their feet. The 4 Guardians stood side by side, glowing like living stars. The alien fleet shifted again. Their formation tightened as they prepared another attack. But now the Guardians stood as a united front. Alex felt a spark of hope. We are not alone anymore. Earth has protectors, real protectors. The new Guardians lifted their heads toward the sky. Their eyes shone with bright white light. Then they launched themselves upward into the air. Claire stared in disbelief. They can fly, Jacob nodded slowly. They were made to defend Earth from space attacks. They were not meant to stay underwater forever. The 3 airborne Guardians flew straight toward the alien ships. Beams of blue energy shot from their hands and chests. The sky lit up as the beams struck the alien ships. One ship fell in seconds. Another exploded in a burst of white flames. The third tried to dodge, but the winged Guardian flew faster than anything Claire had ever seen. It cut through the ship with a single strike and sent pieces falling into the sea, but the aliens were not finished. Their command ship descended lower, ignoring the other Guardians. Its main weapon charged until it was brighter than the sun. They are aiming at the ocean, Jacob said, panic rising in his voice. They want to destroy the structure entirely. If that beam hits, everything might collapse. Alex clenched his fists. The Guardians must stop it. They must know what that weapon will do. The first Guardian, the one that had awakened in the chamber, stepped forward. Its eyes glowed fiercely. Its chest lit up with swirling energy. Claire felt a strange warmth in her head again, like a whisper. It knows. It understands what it has to do. The Guardian bent its knees and leapt upward, rising through the sky at incredible speed. Clouds burst apart as it climbed higher and higher. The alien command ship targeted it immediately. Red beams shot downward, but the Guardian dodged with swift movements, twisting in midair. The Guardian reached the same height as the alien ship. For a moment both forces faced each other in the open sky. The world held its breath. Then the command ship fired its main weapon. The blast was enormous. Red light filled the sky, tearing through clouds and shaking the horizon. Claire cried out in fear. No, but the Guardian raised both arms. A giant blue shield formed, bigger than any shield it had created before. Red beam crashed into the shield. The sky rippled, the shield cracked, the Guardian pushed harder. Jacob shouted, "It cannot hold that alone." The other 3 Guardians flew upward to join the fight. They placed their hands on the back of the first Guardian's shield. Energy flowed from them into it. The blue shield brightened. The red beam began to weaken. Then the shield burst outward like a wave. The shockwave hit the alien ship. The entire vessel shook violently. Its engines flickered. Sparks flew from its sides. The Guardians pushed harder. Cracks formed along the command ship's hull. The red lights faded. The ship began to fall backward. Then with a massive explosion, it broke apart in the sky. The explosion lit up the entire ocean, brighter than any sunrise. Pieces of metal fell into the water, burning as they dropped. The remaining alien ships, now leaderless, scattered. Some fled into space. Others simply shut down, drifting without power. The Guardians descended slowly back toward the ocean. The waves calmed as they landed. They stood still for a long moment, as if listening to something deep beneath the surface. Claire whispered, "Are they going back to sleep?" Jacob shook his head. No, they were not meant to stay asleep forever. They waited for when humanity needed them again. And now that the galaxy knows Earth has Guardians, more threats might come. They will remain active. They will protect the planet as long as they are needed. Alex looked at the glowing figures standing tall on the ocean. Then we must learn from them. We must understand who we were, and who we can become again. The Guardians returned to the glowing points in the ocean where they had risen. Their bodies slowly sank beneath the waves, returning to the ancient chamber below. The ocean grew quiet, but Earth was changed forever. Later, after the Horizon returned to port, world leaders met with Alex, Claire, and Jacob. The three explained everything they had seen: the chamber, the symbols, the guardians, and the battle. Some leaders were afraid, others were curious, but none could deny the truth. Earth was no longer just a planet in the galaxy. Earth was a world protected by ancient power. Claire spent many nights studying the symbols she had copied from the chamber. One night she found something new hidden in one of the patterns, a message. She showed Jacob and Alex. The message was simple: when humanity remembers its strength, the guardians will walk beside them. Alex read the message slowly. "This is not the end, then," Jacob nodded. "No, this is a beginning, a new chapter for Earth." Claire smiled softly. "We are no longer alone. We have ancient guardians, and they came from us." Outside the window, the ocean shimmered peacefully in the moonlight. But deep beneath its surface, in a chamber older than any recorded history, blue lights glowed quietly. The guardians were waiting, and Earth was ready for whatever came next.